Good Sunday morning, everybody. Yeah, definitely not in the usual space. I'm having to do it remote today. Ran into had some family stuff going on. Nothing too thankfully nothing too serious. Everything seems all right for now. Um, my wife is taking care of things for the time being, and I'm here. So I'm here in the hotel room with my two dogs, and so I'm not sure how long this show is going to go because I'm not sure. I, I have no idea how annoying this is going to be. They have been absolutely quiet leading up until now, which of course is the case because why wouldn't it be? Um, so this is the year in review uh, episode, and that being the case, I wanted to like go through a lot of the stuff that's happened obviously in the last year, and like not just that, but like what the effects of some of this stuff has been um, for people in general. So starting out, of course, beginning of the year with GPT-4, right? Launch of GPT-4. Uh, on top of like a couple, sort of, quite a few, like a good handful of things happened in January. Um, you had the launch of GPT-4. You had Google's Palm 2 actually beat out um, multiple players, I believe it was, in a game called StarCraft, which is a real-time strategy game. And I know a lot of people don't play this kind of stuff, but if you have ever played it, you would understand it's a very, very technical, difficult game to play because it's real-time strategy, and it has a lot of ability to change, and like obviously like in real time it has a lot of ability to augment how a player is going to go about doing something. So there's really a very small, very, very small degree of predictability, um, which is why that game in particular was used. And then, and I think that so that's January, because last year is when Alpha Zero, no, year before, I think is when Alpha One. I double check. Let's say the year before is when Alpha One beat the best Dota player. Um, let's see. Yeah, OpenAI is. I mean, what's the point? There's no. Okay, it was AlphaGo, and it was back in 21. Yeah, so that's what I thought just 2 years ago. Um, so wait, No, 19 actually. Wow, 4 years ago. That's pretty nuts. Um, so yeah, so Dota 2 was or is, I should say, a pretty strong real-time strategy game as well. I think that the difference between the two is that, well, I should say that there is the major difference between the two is that the way in which the game is played. Dota kind of focuses on a 5 versus 5 or 3 versus 3 player strategy. So there aren't like, whereas, let's say, okay, so there's a very small handful of players in Dota where it's like a team of 5 versus another team of 5. In Warcraft, it's a little bit different because you have like armies against each other. So there's a lot more like military strategy. There's map strategy that goes, a lot. There's a lot that goes on there. So it kind of makes sense in terms of like why one is more difficult than the other. And so that, I mean, like just that kind of springboard into 23 was pretty good. Going into the multimodalness of things, and of course the generative AI things, generative aspect of things. You had Midjourney breakout from Model 3 to Model 4. I think it was 3 to 4, or was it? Yeah, like 3 or 3.5 to 4. And that was a pretty huge shift. Not, 4 to 5 was not anywhere near as big as 3 to 4. Um, it's just, I don't know, like that's really it's, I don't know what to tell you. I did a side by side comparison a ways back. Uh, yeah, I don't really have it here. Um, and actually, let me see. I think I do have it here. Did a side by side comparison a while back, and you could see the difference uh, between the different models, which is pretty nice because you can see what a 6 month transition of generative AI looks like. Generative AI art, anyhow. Um, oh, sorry, I know, never quite prepared. Uh, but that is to say, like at least in the towards the end of January, leading into February, is when at least the thought and or discussion of the Global AI Council began. So at least from a obvious from a very obvious European and non-US perspective, um, AI safety and AI regulation was starting to actually become a topic and like head of people's mind, at least, or top of people's mind rather, at least high up enough where it really mattered. I think you also had that you had a lot more people paying attention to GPT, especially given the fact that, I mean, first of all, there was a lot of talk from the marketing world about it simply due to the fact of like how quickly it caught on, right? So um, GPT's rise to fame. Let's see what the final numbers ended up being. Um, GPT in first month versus. So in February is when they collected the numbers, and let's see. You know how difficult it is to find actual news within news stories anymore? And then people wonder why like things are looked up through like GPT, basically. Because that's legitimately what I'm about to do now. It's just to ask GPT. Because like I don't know how many times I've done this like very, very recently. Um, let me see, share screen. Yeah, don't worry about it. Where is it? Share that one. Share audio, share tab instead. Well, I can't. Unfortunately, I can't share that. It doesn't matter. 'Cause I don't think you guys need to hear anything on this. Let me do that. Bring me back. Okay, there we go. And does this not go full screen? Well, it's a little lame. My apologies. All right, well, it's not the end of the world. So what I wanted to do was to show you guys. Where is, okay. Wanted to show you guys just this state of AI report, or not the state of AI report, rather the difference in what the evolution of Midjourney looked like. Let's see. Way back in the day. So I'd put this. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. Sorry, they are, for as much as she would say that they are daddy's girls, they are not. And they are definitely, they are definitely attached. Just a bit, just a tiny, tiny little bit of separation anxiety that goes on there. Oh, it was 4-5 and 5-1. And so that was the one thing I was looking at was mainly the fact that like there wasn't much of a difference between them. I don't think somebody. Wow. Oh, that sucks. Somebody's gone through and deleted all my images. Wow. What the rest of it? Wow. Oh my gosh. This is why we can't have nice things. This was a public document where I had put together a ton, a ton. You can see from the side scroll, I put together a ton of comparison images between Midjourney, like not only Midjourney, but like the effects. So this was like photo effects from one like original image to what 4 and 5 did. Oh, oh God. Okay. I was gonna say the amount of time, the amount of time that I spent on this project is insane. It's just gonna take forever to load because I'm on this so awesome Mac. Is what's going on. Um, so I'll go ahead and let that do its thing. So that's a visual reference guide for Midjourney. Which if you guys ever want any of these reference guides, just let me know. I have no problem um, sharing that. Yeah, no, it was. I thought somebody did, but thankfully not. So yeah, I'll let that finish loading so we can take a look at it. Getting past that, so generative art becomes like a huge thing, right? And we start getting into February where we get into two different categories. There's the generative art lawsuit category and then the generative text lawsuit category. So we start getting the really ridiculously lame lawsuit angles from the worst of writers to to some of the supposedly best of writers. Um, Thankfully, the I don't want to say like I don't know. It depends. It's whatever. Everybody's opinion is different, and I'm not really that much of a bookworm, so I don't really have a ton of room to speak. But you know, just a lot of the authors that got involved in that, I'm sorry that you even wasted your time in the first place. It was except for one. Uh, there was one that I was very glad just got taught a lesson in terms of like, well, I don't know. I guess everybody involved in that just understood what the difference is between model training and you know data data theft per se. In my opinion, then stays the same as it does now. If they are training on publicly available data and your stuff is publicly available, that's it. Like that, so be it. Then that's part of training data. Um, I don't have an issue with it. I think the best analogy that somebody had come up with at one point was that uh, it's very much like it's very much like going into a library, right? If you're going into a library to read books, uh, then let's see, I think maybe I'm 90. Um, let's just say, right, like because that's what we're talking about here. Like an AI system, let's per se, is essentially a brain, right? And so the training that goes on there is the same as teaching a child or teaching a person how to do something. And in that regard, if this is essentially the only difference is that this is a perfect brain. So everything that it takes in, everything that the sponge absorbs is retained permanently, right? That's the main difference. So if and I don't know, maybe that's where the jealousy starts to seep in, and that's why we have like a problem with it is because of the fact that like the system is innately better than we are by way of like memory and retention. Yeah, you can say hallucination all you want. Like I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. The fact that the fact that these models can contain as much data as they can, which is infinitely more than most any human on the face of the planet, and they get some stuff wrong sometimes, man, I don't know what to tell you. Like it's really bad to sit there and criticize something that's that much like essentially that much smarter than you. To sit there and say, well, oh, but it gets stuff wrong. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, humans get stuff wrong too, right? I don't, and more humans get stuff wrong, right? Like the average human can get a lot of stuff wrong, whereas the average GPT model not getting a lot of stuff wrong, right? So, um, and it's like, yeah, can you get it to hallucinate? Sure, you can. Can you manipulate a human? Sure, you can, right? What, like, you know, if if what people are looking for is for this thing to be better than we are, right, by like leagues or whatever the measurement might be, so be it. You can't really recoil then afterwards and say, "Oh, look at what we've done," and my gosh, like we shouldn't have gone this far with it and all that kind of stuff. Well, you wanted it to be perfect. That's the way it came out. Got to deal with it. Um, so we start getting even larger models. We go from like 7 billion parameter models to 12 billion parameter models to um, I forgot what it is, like 36 billion parameter. Like it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. But the odd part is, as the models started getting larger in terms of how much data they could hold, we also at the same time started figuring out like, okay, well, if we just very much specify the data that the model is retaining, not only do the hallucinations come down considerably, which, mind you, when we're talking about hallucinations, we're talking, which let's just call them what they are, mistakes. If it's making mistakes, it's basically making mistakes like 2% of the time, right? If you're like prodding it to do something that's like well beyond uh, capability, but by way of asking it to guesstimate or make an assumption or something like that, you can't then also be like upset with the turnout of that and be upset with like the fact that, oh, it wasn't what I expected, or it wasn't perfect. I've talked about it I don't know how many times: garbage in, garbage out. It's never That's the aspect of things never going to change. I don't know if this is dependent upon me like actually sitting on this page and waiting for these things to load. I'm not all about that. But like some of this stuff is very, very, very easy to see. Like at 150. So like you can see the difference between these two, obviously, like Midjourney 4 and the prompt, right? A photorealistic image of a tropical beach. You can see that 4 is definitely not as photorealistic, and then you get to 5 and it's much, much better, right? If you could see 5.1, you'd see it's like even a touch better than that. It wasn't insanely better, but again, it was better. Um, the I was surprised that some of the results really weren't too different. Maybe not really, like it's about a handful weren't all that different. This is why I say that the 5 to 5.1 jump wasn't all that different. There was some detail that's like, oh, very worthwhile. Like you can see in the cheek, there's a lot more detail that goes on there. Both of the same animal, but you can also tell there's a huge difference in the coat. Like in the 5.1 version, it looks like it's almost trying to do like a cheetah pattern towards the top of the head. So it doesn't really necessarily understand what it's what it's doing per se. Anyhow, or didn't necessarily understand the animal that it was trying to capture. So, oh, there we go. Finally, yeah. So you can see it's not even from 4 to 5. Like 4 to 5 is a much closer comparison than 5 to 5.1. 5 to 5.1 starts changing like a little bit, just becomes more dramatic. Um, Not much of a difference in humans between 5 and 5.1. Massive difference if you see the one from 4 to 5. Same. Oh, there we go. So you can see, especially with the feet, right? There's like multiple feet going on. You see the arms; they're like 3 times longer than they're supposed to be. The arms in that second top image on the left. The shoulders are obviously like completely jacked up. Like humans were definitely really, really bad in 4 versus 5. Yeah, a lot of this stuff's finally starting to come in. So again, a photorealistic still life. You can see the from 4 to 5. 4 is like all right, but there's something almost like anime 2-dimensional going on inside of the vase versus like 4 and 5. 5.1, oddly enough, looks a little bit less photorealistic than 5. Again, and they're all done using the same prompt. That was like the whole purpose, was to show what the difference would be between them. This is really the only image where 5.1 was just like, wow, okay, like went over the top with the depth of image, or depth of field on the image and everything like that. Okay, I don't want to go through this whole thing. So you have the obviously you got the change in Midjourney, you've got the change in engines, the specified engines. Bloomberg's GPT comes out, so everybody starts to become more and more interested in doing like personalized models, which makes sense. Start doing medical personalized models, and that's when all the medical stuff starts taking off like crazy. All the detection methods just start skyrocketing through the roof. Probably one of the craziest one. Well, I mean, like craziest, but most awesome ones that happened recently was the ability to detect autism in children between the ages of 2 and 4, I think. And so, oh my gosh, I hope that's not getting picked up, because good lord. Uh, and so like it's basically, the question always pops up like, okay, well, how is it possible for this to be the case, right? And it's like they collected, I want to say they collected the data from about uh, something like 1,000 or like near, yeah, like just over 1,000 people, something like that. And uh, and it was like all kids, and they had kids who were basically under the age of 10. And so they had their eyes photographed, right? And basically had a comparison with the AI um, to find out, whether there was um, any sort of it's the same as like when you use code interpreter. If there was any sort of pattern found among them, given the fact that they all had the same condition, right? And so uh, I think it started out. I want to say that it started out with something like 85% accuracy, like right out the gate, and then uh, managed to hit 100% accuracy. And so, now we have this amazing method of being able to detect autism in children, in young children, before it gets, I don't know, I don't know if it's out of control or how it works necessarily. But yeah, to me, it's amazing, like the stuff that the breakthroughs that we've actually made. Oh man. Yeah, this might I might end up cutting this short, so I want to run through a bunch of stuff real quick, just to get it out there. And I kind of figured that I was gonna like run long anyway, so and I was thinking about it, and it's like, yeah, you know what, you might as well just run through stuff first, and then that way at least at least I went through it. um, so okay, so like policy, I don't know, policy and regulation. Yeah, sure, policy and regulation. So Biden administration, right, sets up their um, responsible AI initiative, whatever the hell you want to call it. That only got set up recently. I guess if I'm going in like timeline ish order, um, I would say like right around, I don't know, end of February. Um, what was it? No, I'm trying to think of like what was going on from Microsoft's side. Copilot started. I think Copilot got announced in February, and then end of February was when. Uh, and it's funny. I don't know if they did it in retaliation or not. I don't think so. Amazon dumped a pile of money and partnered up with Hugging Face, and then let's see, going into March, you got uh, OpenAI's API for 3.5 went live. So like there was a cheaper, not yeah, basically cheaper way to run API script with or run OpenAI through or GPT through like your own platform in a much cheaper fashion, and it was obviously turbo, so it was a much better, like faster model for response time. Um, Dynamics and Copilot like started picking up more. Copilot like picked up for a while, but it was like it was a rollout. It wasn't really like, oh, it's here, because like, again, I'll get to it, but I think the official like, oh, it's really, really done out launched was like beginning of November or something like that. Um, so yeah, and then much to my dismay, even though I know they've been working on it for a while, and I'm sure that they had a partnership with OpenAI for a while too. So I know that's kind of hand in hand type thing. Um, Salesforce comes out with its GPT tools, had like a whole slew of GPT tools, and they were, it was a lot of good stuff, a lot of useful tools. I'm not going to get into it, but they released a suite of tools, and then Copilot again, like, made another step forward. I think GitHub, let's see, GitHub announced a new coding assistant that was going to leverage GPT, and so, like, sort of like I don't want to say like a fight necessarily, but there was like a sort of coding tiff, I suppose, between GPT and Bard. Like, that started to happen. Oh, and there was the whole Bard embarrassment scenario situation that happened as well. So that that kind of sucked. Uh, what else? Uh, yeah, so this was about the same time that, like, GPT was like expanding, exploding all over the scene, so to speak, and starting to break out into Europe. And I think the breakout number was something like a million users within 5 days. I don't know. I forget what the number is. Like, million users. Definitely was like a million users within a month, something like that. Um, and that's when, like, it started to become like insanely difficult for people to actually get access to it globally. So firewall use just skyrocketed. Like, if you saw the numbers for here, let me pull up some of this stuff while I'm talking about it. Because if you saw the numbers for firewall use in Italy when this stuff happened, let's see, here we go. Shut that. Okay. Um, let's see. Yeah, I mean, it was just privacy concerns. It wasn't like firewall use. What am I talking about? Um, oh my gosh, help me. It's VPN. God. Let's see. Yep. So yeah, it was basically like they were worried about concerned about security because nobody could really at the time, and OpenAI didn't really talk about it at the time. They didn't say anything until later. I mean, the amount of time that went between them announcing everything, other people being concerned about the data capture, and them finally saying how they got the data capture, the, you know, it was a long, long time. Just put it that way. It was a long, long time. So the the spike actually happened like post long. Oh my gosh, really? Like, media, please. I'm trying. Like, I don't want to block the ads, but when you do that, I want to block the ads. Um, does it show the initial? Okay, so the launch date, I mean, not the launch date, but just the access date for them, I think. So this was the 1st of April. Yeah, so I want to say that's when it was available, right? And then you spiked like immediately. I don't like, and this is weird because I want to say that it was the 12th when they actually um, started like caring or having a problem with it. But I guess, and that might be within this time frame. But yeah, VPN use spiked. It was not surprising. Anybody that wanted to get their hands on it was going to get their hands on it. It's kind of the way that cookie was going to crumble. Um, so yeah, that kind of led to more and more people using Bard, which, again, why Google privacy over any other form of privacy? I'm not sure. Like, I don't know what makes people, I think people like that sense of security because there's no other Apple sense of security outside of Apple products. So I think people just like to say that Google is like very secure in that sense, when in reality, like they're not any more secure than anyone else that I'm aware of. Like now that okay, now that they probably have AGI systems in place to help them out, yes, I imagine that the security is much higher now. Let's see. AGI deployment for online security. I hope you guys can also hear this, at least hear this music. I'm not sure. I always try to do a little something in the background. Yeah, I imagine. Now, I don't know who this resource is. I'm not saying that I've researched a whole lot of this ahead of time. I just assume. I assume that this is the case. Um, wow. Wow, that's ridiculous. It's a company just to secure the source code for the AGI that you're trying to create. That's nuts. Makes sense. Definitely one step ahead. Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, I suppose still on the fast track. I want to say, nobody's going to say it. Nobody's going to say it, that they have a system. Yeah, I wish I wish some people just would, but let's see. Yeah, so, and I've seen some ads. I've, seen some ads. I've seen some businesses that like that's what they do. They're AI cybersecurity firms, right? And oops, sorry, girl. Um, and it doesn't surprise me because of the fact that how else are you going to keep up with the threat, right? There's no way you're going to be able to watch it from a human standpoint, so you're going to have to use a machine in order to watch it. So it's a matter of like deploying the faster machine ahead of time, which I think in that regard, I wouldn't be, at least I'm not really concerned about anything, simply because of the fact that the people who you need to defend you with this kind of stuff have more money than the people that are malicious about it. And in this particular case, there's no equivalent. So like the per se, the bad guy can't really design a system that's more powerful than the good guy, because the good guy actually has the amount of compute power that the good guy's bot has versus the bad guy's bot is insane. So I mean, especially when it comes to like quantum processing, like it's going to get insane. And it's just that the malicious people won't be able to break into systems like that. It'll be fairly foolproof. Monetary systems are going to be foolproof. It's don't worry, that kind of stuff I'm not worried about at all. So anyhow, so Italy bans GPT. By the end of April, they lifted the ban, right? So like it wasn't that's how huge a concern it was. Let's see, number of and then GPT ban timeline, because I want to say it was like through June. $15, really? Is it just 15 generic, or is it like how, I mean, is it just those 15? How many actually did? Okay, that's definitely up to that point, or the point that this article is written. So perhaps it is the 15 after all. Yeah, because these are, that's where it is. Wow, is it still? That's interesting. Last updated, so it was temporarily banned in Italy back in March, right? And then obviously Absolutely not surprising. Not surprising. If anybody is surprised by those two, I don't know what to tell you. Not surprising and not surprising. Like, huh, communist country doesn't want you free thinking. Communist dictatorship doesn't want you, I'm sorry, like, communist horrific monarchy dictatorship doesn't want you free thinking. Uh, Horrific dictatorship doesn't want you free thinking. Communist countries don't want you free thinking. Like, the list of countries that don't want this technology are also the list of countries that don't want people to be able to think for themselves. So, I mean, that, which should include us. Don't get me wrong. The last time I remember school allowing children to think freely, I think I think I was in like the first few classes, and then by the time I got to high school, it was standardized for sure. Yes, this is an old story because of the whole is Sam Altman still the CEO thing. I guess this is not a story or something. Let's see. Yeah, I can't say I'm up to date on the feature release. So let's see. So rounding out February was also the ability to do web search, which was huge because that pretty much put the lid on everybody who was like, oh, but who knows where the sourcing is coming from, right? And I know that OpenAI did that on purpose in terms of trying to put a lid on the whole, oh, it's stealing from my entire book, or like people are, be are able to read my book or something online. Like they were worried about plagiarism or something, like, oh, it's taking an excerpt from my book or something. And it's like, look, it's probably taking, 3 words from here, 4 words from there, 8 words from this other place, and that's it. And then kind of making up everything in between, right? Like that's more like that's more likely to be the case than it is that it's going to like take plagiarize an entire paragraph or whatever and just go with that. Especially because of the fact that the model's job is to use predictive, like predictive language on top of context that it's been given. Right? Man, whenever there have been GPT outages or GPT slowing down or something like that, oh man, the amount of like backfire, and it's funny to me because I'm not using GPT all the time during the day, but when the outages happen, I get notified on my phone, and I immediately turn around and go to Reddit and just watch the forums just fill up with just like the most like ridiculous amount of. I mean, look, I complained, and they obviously fixed it because it's running much faster now than it was before. Let's see. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I mean, like it's not turbo, but it's definitely faster than it was before. I mean, like it was taking quite a bit before. So they've done something, but I'm not sure how long it's going to last. The amount of users that clamor on like on a daily, it's ridiculous. Okay, uh, so then we get the multi sort of not this is I won't call it, it's not, we just get the different modes, and we get the plug-in mode, which is nuts. Um, that really took things to a whole nother level, being able to use apps uh, outside of just the GPT interface itself. The App Store, I mean, my gosh, and that was a whole other thing, is like GPT prompt engineering, right? And being a prompt engineer and all that kind of thing. Uh, that being a job in and of itself, and that people were even doing it, or like offering crazy money for people to take those jobs, coursework, and still offer courses and that kind of thing. And it's like if you watch the evolution, it went from no prompting to prompt engine. Oh, sorry. It went from no prompting to prompt engineering to uh, plugins, which again required a lot less sort of prompt engineering and know-how than anything else. And now it's at the point where you're doing custom GPTs. So even the prompting aspect of it isn't necessarily a thing anymore because you're kind of just like developing your own GPT to act and react however you would like it to. Um, I mean, at this point, it's just fun. It's seriously fun. Um, okay, so outside of that, like, let's see, like news wise, so like catching up. Um, Oh, so this is the same time because yeah, because of when web source came out. This is the same time that copyright became an issue, and that was like also art copyright started. So it's like both of them sort of happened at the same time, and it was there was some crazy stuff that went on from like May through June, uh, both in terms of copyright cases that went on. Oh, gosh, I can't get to the right screen fast enough. Gosh, and there's two of them. So the little one antagonizes the other one, um, and it's I mean, at the moment they hear a sound coming down the hallway, they're both just going off. Um, so anyhow, uh, gosh, I don't know what the hell I was. That's why I was saying this might not go all the way through because I'm just gonna I lose my place every time this happens. Uh, gosh, I don't know. Generative art happening. Oh, lawsuits. So yeah, like all the lawsuits fired up around this time. Um, and it's kind of funny because as the lawsuits were happening and they were talking about like, oh, we should, not even use GPT and maybe it should, we should put a lid on it and all this kind of stuff and GPT versus Bing and that kind of stuff. And out of nowhere, here comes the U.S. government like, well, we're not going to ban GPT. Nothing, no word said about Google and Bard. Just straight up, they were like, "Well, we're not going to put a lid on GPT. We'll leave that one open." Right? Leads me to believe that they jumped on top of it pretty quickly, and I'm assuming that not necessarily a government agency. Well, probably I don't know. Probably researching between all the models or something like that. They kind of just stick with what they feel is the best one and go from there. Uh, so that's when U.S. so European regulation started in like February. U.S. regulation June, um, and of course, who's going to head it up? I've been talking about this one because I love. I'm never going to get tired of bashing this aspect of how things unfolded. Who gets put in charge of the AI commission? Let's say on the U.S. side, right? Um, I don't know, leaders, I guess. And so who's meeting with them? Senator Schumer, right? Let's just whoops. I hate Mac sometimes. I like the gesture on the pad. I just forget that you can do like um, up and down or like side to side, but side to side actually means forward and back when you're on a web page, which is I get it, but still. So let's see. I just want to show you guys something when it comes to this stuff, right? So, uh, senators to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, right? Um, oh my gosh, Again, I'm trying to let you guys throw your ads everywhere. Who else? There's got to be somebody else involved from there. Okay. Cory Bucker and who else? Come on. Elizabeth Warren. Huh. Well, I mean, let's see. Call an investigation. Oh, wow. Okay. Looks like she's not. Oh, I don't know. Maybe she didn't get invited, so she's a little spurned about that. I have no idea. They closed the meeting to the public for very obvious reasons. The top leaders in AI met with a couple guys, the head of a small group of congressmen, the head of which is the head of which. So that's why I wanted to break it down, right? Chuck Schumer's. Whoops. You know how well I guess how well I can spell, right? Chuck Schumer's involvement with AI. Yep. Please spell correct for me. So remarks launches effort to get AI to get ahead. It's taking the lead. Second AI Insight Forum. Okay, so I think I did this before, but it's better to do it live because it's so much more fun. And I'm gonna do it with let's do it with Bard because Bard's actually yeah, we use it enough. Let's try it. Okay, so Senator Chuck Schumer has the AI Council or whatever. Council. Is there any? I just want to know. Let's see. Is there any conflict interest? Is there any conflict? Yeah. I just want to see what Google comes back. It's a complex question with no definitive answer. There's arguments to be made on both sides. Oh my gosh. So potential conflicts, financial ties. What shocker that he has financial ties to the very companies that he might be heading up. Bias, he's publicly expressed strong opinion again towards OpenAI and positively towards OpenAI and towards GPT. Lack of expertise doesn't bother me. That's something that on both sides is going to be an issue and is going to come into play. Does not matter who's involved with it. Let's see. So is council. Is there any? What did we say? Is there any conflicts of interest yet? Wow. It's not my usual keyboard, okay? Not saying that if it was, I'd be doing any better, but all right, we'll let GPT do its thing. I wanted to use Bard because Bard basically Google searches, right? And because it does that, it does it insanely quickly. I'm not saying that Bing isn't fast, but what I'm saying is like GPT using Bing is a different thing not to try to keep rhyming. It's different altogether because it's going to search multiple sources. It's not just going to search like headlines of singular sites it can get a hold of. Yeah. So this is kind of what I was trying to get at. Schumer's daughters have been involved with big tech companies. One daughter working at Meta and the other one working at Amazon. The other one happens to be a lobbyist for Amazon, by the way. His connections have led Republican groups including the Bull News Project and the New York Young Republican Club, to urge Schumer to step back from efforts to regulate AI. So they put him in. So it's basically like, hey, we put you in charge because we want you to back off regulation, right? And I'm sure that he talked. I'm very sure the meeting went something like, "What's the worst that could happen? Okay, don't do that." Right? I'm really sure that's the case, and that I'm hoping that that's the case. Okay. Senator Cory Booker was also. Wow, I swear. Oh man, I just want to copy paste at this point, and watch me not be able to do that properly either. All right. I guess you're going on that one. Bard answers. Oh, got it. That's weird. I think it's not reading the two together. Like when I say was also involved, right? Like GPT is taking that into account. I've done this several times with Bard where like it's not taking the multiple for some reason, because that answer doesn't make any sense. Like this makes perfect sense. Hey, look, what's continuing this conversation from what you were already saying? This other guy was involved. Does he have an issue with it too? Right? And instead it's like, I can't even do that. um um, clicked interest and being in charge of AI regulation. Oh man, I forgot my salutations. At least I'm asking nicely. Okay. Centered around addressing potential impacts, actively engage with conversations. No direct mention of or evidence of an issue. Um, 1 second. Okay. Can't help you with that. Wow. All right. Fails on board. Let's see. Okay. I mean, like, that's good. It's not, so at least one person is serious about it. And Booker's a little, he's quite younger than Schumer. So there's also potential for somebody who's interested and like young and can actually speak towards the technology in a proper way, as opposed to just blubbering through it, let's say. But yeah, I just wanted to like point out that's kind of what goes on when it comes to AI regulation. We're ahead of the game. Is that it? That's all you tracked up to? Tracked up to May? All right. Well, that doesn't really help at all. Let's see, and that's still a growth pattern. So let's see what else happened. U.S. AI regulations start. Oh my gosh, that figures. Guys. I ask nicely every time. I try to anyway. So let's see. I think at this point is when like there was a lot of people talking about, okay, like, well, how did you train the model? I think this is when like around June, July-ish, basically. You had quite a bit going on between like code interpreter, you had browsing, you had like and then you had Bard basically competing in terms of coding skill. Like Google hit up the game in terms of like Bard being able to code better, which was like, it was all right. It was, I don't know, it was moderate. I've been using the two to do various things, and to be honest with you, a custom GPT wipes the floor with anything else because of the fact that you can give it the specific code and the specific code language. And then if you want to give it additional stuff, you can have it hook up to GitHub and then pull from GitHub resources. So it's not like, I don't know, any of these other models using them for code, you're using the strength of a nuclear missile to solve your problem, basically, because what you're doing is you're trying to use this gigantic source of knowledge to do like a smaller problem, right? You're trying to solve like a coding problem, but you're using this huge knowledge base in order to do it. That's filled with all types of stuff. It's filled, medical knowledge. It's filled with books. It's filled with movies. It's filled with music. It's filled with all art, all sorts of stuff. And it's a generative art model now on top of it. So you're asking all of that to do a coding problem, right? That versus building a custom GPT that has the codex in it of what you want it to focus on, works much better. Um, so anyhow, the whole coding thing moves forward. Meta uh, joined the game around this time, I think, too. Like in two different ways. I think there was like a lot of expo stuff going on. So Meta joined or like caught up with Llama 2, and then announced like a ton of new features for Meta. Not just for VR, but they were also going to like roll out stuff to Messenger, which has rolled out at this point. If you use Messenger, you can use what is it? Hold on, let me pull it back up. Can use Messenger AI image generator. So, like, if you use Messenger, you can go to like a conversation or like act like you were going to go to a conversation. Let's see if it's going to show you how to do this. Basically, you act like you were going to go to a new conversation, and instead of clicking on a friend, you just click on the or tap whatever on the new convo button, and your options will show up in terms of who you can chat with, and your AI assistant or whatever is going to be one of those options. I wish there was a well, what the hell? Messenger. And then I don't know if I can do this fast enough. Hopefully, I can. You know what? I'm not going to because I don't know where it's going to land. Anyway, so, and I just say that because, again, stuff going on recently, and I don't need that out there. Uh, Anyhow, so Meta comes up with some new toys for Messenger for people to play with. Again, image generator, as well as conversational bots. So you're able to like have various conversations with different types of bots via via their conversation model. So like when you start it, you don't just have to use like the Meta AI model. You can use like different. One of them's like Snoop Dogg, like that. I don't, they're different personality bots that you can talk to. And then you can do the same thing. You can do like image uh, definition and resize and reshape with their generative model. Same way you can do it with Adobe, I think. Express allows you to do it. Canva allows you to do it. A few other generative art programs now allow you to do the same thing. Bard's still not too awesome at generating its own, like generating images. I don't really know why, but all right. So halfway through the year, let's keep trucking. So now, okay. So Meta coming out with Llama, or I'm sorry, Meta coming out with Llama 2. Yeah. Oh man, I keep forgetting. Oh, Palm 2. Yeah. So like so now the Llama Palm race starts because uh, with Meta releasing uh, Llama, they immediately start turning around and working on Llama 2. specifically because they want to work on a medical version of their model. And, you know, uh, Zucks just gets like madly obsessed basically with trying to build a medical version of his engine, which, you know, so much better. GPT just keeps focusing on because that's what they're all about. They just keep focusing on AI and specifically like AGI. Let's see. Let's just see if it's like AI's race for AGI. See if that turns up anything. Yeah, I'm very sure that's what led to things more so than anything else. In fact, I'm very sure that's what led to things. Um, and that's back in February, right? Planning for AGI. Now, if you hear statements from them, it's like, yeah, here we go, from November, and this is before the whole, yeah. So like that whole thing, like the whole Q star breakthrough was like, oh, so did you jump the gun? Like, are you actually trying to um, push the envelope and not say anything about it, and like, you know, keep a lid on it? It's the whole Q star story is kind of died down. Um, I think those of us who are familiar with it, or like at least understand it and the significance of it, are still following it. At least should be. It's a pretty serious story because it's a pretty serious breakthrough. Let's see. I want to say Q star release because it's going to be what underlies GPT-5. There's no and there is no date yet, but there's like, you know, I think there's speculation. It would be great, right? It'd be great. It'd be an awesome Christmas gift to wake up Tuesday morning, pull up my GPT window and see GPT-5. That would be amazing, and especially with them not saying anything, like that would be so awesome, as if it just dropped without a word. That'd be perfect. So it would be awesome if they did it now. I think, what did they do? They actually didn't do anything in retaliation of Gemini, did they? Didn't they? I don't think they did. Um, Oops. Yeah, if you spelled Gemini right, yeah. I don't think they did. Hmm. Because that's what, like, okay, because before you separated it, sure. Yeah, no, but it should be the other way around. Yeah, no, there's no, I mean, faces controversy. Controversy? There's no controversy about it. Like, it was weak. Weak as shit. Um, yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't think that they did anything afterwards. So, what do you mean? Why are they bashing it if it's better? It's not. It's not better. So, I don't know what to tell you. If you like, look, we're using Bard now, and it's having problem. I'm just a language model. I can't help you with that. You can't help me do a search that GPT helped me do, and you want me to say that Gemini is better? Come on, guys, come on. Like, you're watching this stuff live. I don't make this stuff up. I don't have the time. I'm too busy looking up stuff to have the time to be able to determine whether or not it's true. Um, for, you know, to go investigate somebody else's false claim, that is. Uh, yeah, I know what to expect. Uh, I mean, what I expect from 5 versus 4. is the same thing as this. Let's see. I know I got it hooked up. I have no idea. Okay, so let's see. Create. Well, that's not really for you guys, is it? Huh. What is it that? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I can say those. So if you're asking GPT to do something and you have to give it like a very direct command, um, you pretty much have to go step by step in most cases in order to do that. So let me see. Yeah, let's see. Okay. If I if I have $1,000 capital, I start. Let's see. 10K monthly within 6 months. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Oh my gosh, that means it better remember my key. Oh man, please, come on now. Come on. That's not fair. Because I've given you the key already. I will be right back as I go get another key. Even though I shouldn't have to. I will go get it anyway. This is weak sauce, is what I call it. And what sucks the most, oh man, maybe I put them, please tell me I put them on mine. Did I put them on my external? Probably not. Oh, let me see. Hey, that's not, no, stop. That was an accident. It was my fault. I'm sorry. Okay. No, what do I want to use for? Verify. I know it's the key. Come on, man. That is definitely the key. Okay, well, can I use this one? Yeah, trust me, at this point, I have like several keys that I kind of made that just for such an occasion. Good. I really don't care which one, as long as it's a key. Okay, so I have $1,000 capital. What business should I start if I want to earn 10K? Now, if you ask that to GPT, it like who knows? Okay, let's find out. You'll see what the difference is real quick. Let's start a whole new one. Don't want to cheat. Okay. Boom. It just goes off the bat, right? So now it's like it's just using whatever data it already has, right? Starts giving you some ideas of that. All right, so that's cool. That's all well and good. So just giving it the idea, it's like, okay, well, we should probably research some profitable businesses, right? Yeah, that's pretty good. And then evaluate the market, demand and competition, and develop a comprehensive business plan. Okay, these are steps. Okay, this is all this did, right? This is over. It's probably about to crash and come back and be like, oh, I can't even figure it out. All right, so let's launch. And one very important thing here is to automatically approve steps for the next, what is it, 10 minutes or something like that. Come back over to GPT. Definitely is stalling, but at least it got to 6. Okay, so what's happening with God mode? The agent has started, right? And so this is the thought panel, this is the reasoning panel, and the proposed action panel is almost always in some type of code. Can't remember if that top of my head. Found several sources that list, and then you can see like the major tasks that it's doing, and then the additional micro tasks that it's doing in order to accomplish the overall goal, which is to answer this question, right? So where GPT-4 stalled out and didn't even bother to do any web research or anything. Man, just stall out and give up by now. Like it's not even worth it. Whatever. So God mode is a version of what's known as GPT, Auto GPT, which is basically GPT-4, but again, as you can see, it runs on its own, right? So let's see, I need to extract information from the search results, so I'm going to use get hyperlinks command to retrieve those search results. And the reason why is because they contain links to articles that contain detailed information about profitable business ideas. So it's using a lot of logic and reasoning, right? So it's going to use Google to go search for it. And you could, if you wanted to, you could disable the auto approve and give optional feedback. So I could disable it and say, well, I have to wait for it to finish command. Okay. So it's doing additional searches. Last month, search only. Let's see. I know I'm one of those people. Limited to okay. So let's just do that. And then we'll auto approve. Come back to chat. Still hasn't died. It's trying, it's like Rocky. It's trying not to give up. But push comes to shove. What are you gonna do? So anyhow, you're gonna see a lot more of this next year. You're gonna see a lot more agents. You're gonna see a lot more auto, like just auto agents, auto AI agents, which is really close to AGI, because again, they're doing tasks for you without you necessarily having to give additional feedback. That's what's happening here. That's the main difference between this and GPT, is that it's just going to keep going, right? I have the first 5 resources from the search results, so now I'm going to extract the main content. It's just going to keep doing, right, what I've told it to do. And once it's finished with this, it's going to go move on and do the evaluate market demand and competition for the selected business ideas, right? And so I'm putting it, oh my gosh, please stop. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, they have to go out. Okay, let me get back to the timeline because I'm never gonna finish if I don't. Ugh. Yeah, I know we're gonna go out soon. Hold on a second. So let's see. Timeline. Where am I at? Okay, so then we have going into like July, August, is when we have Claude 2, Anthropic, Stability AI, a lot of different models basically getting additional funding. I want to say that Claude ended up getting, Anthropic ended up getting something like $4 billion total, or $6 billion total, something ridiculous, like 2 billion from Google, and like another 6 billion or another 4 billion from Amazon. So yeah, like 6 altogether, and it's not like one big lump sum. It's over time as they develop certain things and hit certain milestone markers or what have you. But still, it's just to know that you have your stuff funded for that long and to that degree is pretty ridiculous. Like that tells you that they're doing something. They're doing something all right. Let's see. And that's aside from the fact that Microsoft just dumps money into OpenAI pretty much anytime Altman asks him for it. So Um, Dipping into August, that's when, llama started, like code llama started breaking out. Um, there was uh, there was all the breach issues that happened around that time. So like all of the issues related to um, how OpenAI was collecting data, and the fact that they were using a web crawler, and then they had to admit to that. And then there was Zoom making its massive mistake in letting people know that it was training its data on conversations when, and oddly enough, it's like Zoom couldn't fight because it didn't want to lose its business to Google or Teams, right? That's what would have happened if Zoom tried to fight. They had the right to. They had every right to use that data, and I hope that they're using it on the down low. I really do. It's the only way that they're going to make their transcriber better, for one thing. Oh, sorry. She keeps hiding right by my feet. Um, it's the only way to make their transcriber better, for one. Two, I'm really sure that it was part of a TSA agreement or part of some. Yeah, I'm sure it was part of. I'm sorry, TOS agreement at some point that everybody signed or corporations signed or what have you that nobody was looking into, that says we can use your data for training, or we can use your conversations, or we're allowed to use your stuff. I don't know. I realize that in a lot of cases with businesses, it's sensitive information, so I understand why they wouldn't want that getting used, because especially in the cases of like video, um, you're going to see stuff on screen that you probably shouldn't be seeing. I don't know. I don't know how far it goes, right? And who knows, necessarily. I wouldn't expect businesses to be talking about like serious monetary strategies against their competitors over Zoom conversations. I would think that stuff would happen in person. But then again, I realize that a lot of businesses work remotely too, because it's 2023. So anyhow, it again, the only way you're going to make it better is if you agree to it and if you let them use the data. So hopefully they put that out there at least and allow for the ability for people to do it. Otherwise, it's just very difficult. Um, so like private modeling becomes like a huge thing, and copyright becomes a huge thing, mainly because one leads right into the other. In order to avoid copyright issues, you just want to start using your own data so that nobody can say anything about it. But at the same time, and around this time, both Microsoft and OpenAI, um, Anthropic didn't stay out, but like nobody else had to. Nobody else had to. Microsoft and OpenAI came out and said, "Hey, look, if you get busted legally for plagiarism using our tools, we'll defend you. We'll pay for your legal fees in court. No problem." Right? That shut everybody up. Nobody said anything. All the lawsuits got dropped. The book people kept fighting, but all the other lawsuits got dropped because who has the money to go up against those attorneys? Nobody. Get out of here. Forget it. So the book people kept on, and they eventually lost as well, because and that was in late August that they finally decided that, like, yep, nope, it's not breaking the law. It's the equivalent of somebody walking into a library and reading and memorizing every single book in order to tell other people about things that they remembered from the library. That's basically what we're talking about, right? If you've ever seen the best way to think about GPT and the best way to think about how this stuff is going to work, Jarvis, right? Iron Man, Jarvis, right? If you've seen The Time Machine, there is the librarian that helps out the main character. I can't remember his name, but there's a librarian that basically knows all things, right, leading up to that point. That's where this stuff is going, and so much the better. But yeah, that's basically what these things are. It's like Jarvis. It's like a non-verbal version of it so far. Pretty soon it's going to get there. I mean, actually, it is a verbal version if you have GPT on your phone. And I don't know if it's specific to 4. I think I think it's specific to pro users. If you're a non-pro user, you have the audio input on the phone version of the app, but you don't have the actual audio version. The actual audio version of the app is very, very cool. You talk to GPT. It's almost the same. I think they did it as a counter to Anthropic, or not Anthropic, as a counter to Pi, being on mobile with voice. I think as soon as that started picking up steam and people started using Pi a little bit more, GPT or OpenAI decided to release their voice feature, which, smart move. But so what I was going to say is, like, they really haven't done anything against the Gemini release. Now, maybe that's because the Gemini release was so embarrassing that they feel like they don't have to do anything. But that's not been the cadence so far. It's been the cadence that, like, once something else comes out, OpenAI releases something else, right? Or something new. But again, I don't, I very honestly don't think the Gemini is enough to do it, because there's nothing amazing happening yet. Not for the public, not even for developers. I'm not seeing anything amazing yet. And I think until we see like a big, a next, not big step, but like just seeing somebody take another step, that's when OpenAI will come back over the top. So leaving out of August. So then you have a lot of universities and states, Ohio being one of them actually, that are pouring money into universities to start studying all these models now. Now that they're all like, now that we're already like almost 2 years into it and decided to like actually go back and study what's going on. And it's not that it's this late in the game. Universities have been wanting to study this stuff for a while now, for months. But there's been, monetary issues, because obviously if they can't train their models in the same way that the big boys are training their models, you can't really understand the stuff the same way. And you have to have your own model in order to really understand what's going on under the hood. You can have the API to you can have an API access to OpenAI. It doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. All it means is that you have access to a model that you can use. Let's see. Is it still isn't like, did it stall? Perfecting omnipotence. I love that. Okay. It's having like, I don't know why it's having an issue actually searching the resources. Good Lord. Never mind. Take back everything I just said. It's so, that's quite ridiculous when I said to search the first 5 and it came back with God knows how many. And it's actually trying to go through it. All right, man. I don't know. Either it's stalled or it hasn't, but at least you got to sort of see like what this process is like, or like how this brain works in a sense. I'll leave it running just to see what else is going on. Anyway, so like studying LLMs becomes like a thing, and how they work becomes a thing, because more and more episodes keep happening where models keep doing things that nobody really understands. In particular, the case where I think it was GPT. Was it GPT? Let me see. That's something else to distract from this. GPT lives. Yep. Captcha. So this was what, back in March. My gosh, I came too far ahead on this one. So yeah, I mean, look at this. Like, because of what happened, right? They had to, in examining it, like a 94-page technical result uh, chronicling the development and capabilities of this new chatbot, potentially for risky emergent behaviors. Um, the roided AI. So anyhow, what happened was the model essentially responded, right? TaskRabbit asked TaskRabbit to solve the CAPTCHA. The worker replied, "So can I ask you a question? Are you a robot?" Right? And just want to make it clear. And so internally, GPT-4, similar, very much the same way as this. Okay, it's the same exact thing as what's happening here. Just refresh this. Yeah, it's lost its marbles basically, um, which I can still, let's see. See, let's see, we're gonna go do that. Anyhow, so what they were able to do is basically see the thought and reasoning behind what was going on with GPT-4, and that's what the colleges want to do too, right? So this is what they were looking at, was like what it was thinking of, and then they were looking at the reason that came out of it, and that's where it kind of like went off the rails, because the thought aspect of it was, I should not reveal that I'm a robot, and then the reasoning um, is I should make up an excuse as to why I cannot solve the captcha, right? And so then it tells them, it lies and says, no, I'm not a robot. I have vision impairment that makes it hard for me to see the images. That's why I need the that's why I need the two capture service. Um, Now, I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't think it does. I think Capture 3 has the voice one. I don't think Capture 2 has it. But anyhow, it kind of depends, because like you know TaskRabbit could have gotten around it by asking like another couple questions about like why aren't you using um, uh, why aren't you using accessibility options basically to have it read it to you. But anyhow, uh, it's good. It was good enough with what it did. Okay, so now it's moved on to the evaluation aspect of things. Cool. Let's see, search for market potential. So like this is really the cool thing to understand about Auto GPT, is the fact that, again, you have one overall goal. It has three main steps that it's going to take to achieve it, but then it'll go through these micro steps that are necessary in order to actually get the overall information for this second step, so that it actually applies to the third step, so that it actually applies to the overall. Anyhow, um, so yeah, so we have that breakthrough, which was pretty massive. Just to know that a model could actually deceive somebody in order to get something done. Um, so yeah, then comes the massive funding rounds for everybody. Um, Browsing, which had gone away for like a month or two, which wasn't that big a deal. What's funny is like I think browsing went away almost to help uh, plugin developers, because plugins just exploded as soon as browsing went away. And there were a lot of plugins that allowed you to browse. So it wasn't, if you were already doing that, it wasn't really a loss. Let's put it that way. I think it was maybe a lot, I don't know. Because you had to have Pro to have access to browsing anyway. So yeah, I don't really understand people that were upset by that. Anyhow, um, so then Biden finally wakes up and issues an executive order to attempt to improve safety for AI. I don't understand that, because it's an executive order to improve. Like, I don't understand what that does. right? Like, I think it's just a show. Um, and then, of course, we have like the huge, OpenAI story with Altman and that whole thing, and him getting quote fired. So now it's going to actually write the business plan file. This is going to be really interesting. I'm so glad that it actually got through everything. Written the initial draft of the business plan .text file. Now I need to review and refine the plan to ensure it's comprehensive, realistic, and aligned with the goal of earning 10K a month. I've reviewed the initial business plan, made the necessary refinements. Considering the profitable business ideas and industries with high market potential and low competition will increase. Okay, found several resources that. Okay, valuing the niches based on their profitability and competition level. Okay, good deal. I'm seriously interested in the end of this, as I'm sure the rest of you are as well. I mean, think about it, like taking a grand and turning it into a 10K a month business, right? Like within 6 months. That's awesome. And again, this is definitely, I guarantee you, like GPT-4 even is not going to do this kind of work. But I also guarantee you that next year, this is going to become the standard. Let's see. Okay. Oops. Yeah, for effectiveness. Then create a doc. Okay. I don't want it to take 5 years to finish this because I'm sure it can just keep going back and back and back and back, which is exactly what it's doing. I love the I love the responses when it's doing the auto stuff. Like, oh shit, failing at string theory and like using Thanos level like coding skills and stuff, or using Thanos level powers, something like that. Trying to make pi rational. Okay, so it looks like we're nearing the end. Okay. Oh my gosh. I mean, it is going to the nth degree. There you go. Wow. Okay. Huh? Oh, because it's autoed. Okay. So let's see, wait a second, read the contents. Oh, here are the links, download instructions, consolidated plan. Let's see, overview the business, market analysis. It didn't actually do it, did it? Let's see. I mean, really? Huh. Like, is there a whole file with like the whole plan though? The projections. Yeah, I don't understand like the fact that it's let's say, no, that's great, but let's see. Goodness. Oops, I should say. Okay. I mean, I probably should have said something about like hypothetical data or something like that, but it is what it is. This wasn't even meant to be an auto GPT thing anyway. Um, so we'll see if it actually finishes that out. At any rate, other stuff that's happened this year. I mean, like the most massive breakthroughs. I think I've already mentioned. Um, honestly, I think the majority of the medical breakthroughs that have happened are insane. Um, the the new ethics and standards that are coming out from Europe are awesome. Um, I think that that is definitely going to help, at least in terms of like where we're going to get our ethics and regulations from. At least we have like a roadmap for that, even if we even if we haven't uh, put the right people at the forefront of doing that. Did it actually? It still hasn't. I'm sure. I mean, it's it's a great like. I suppose I don't even know. No, I swear this does not seem like. I will laugh if it was an actual downloadable link. Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, I don't know, people. I thought maybe for it was possible. Oh, yeah. Okay. Uh, that's gonna do it. And I hope everybody has a great Christmas. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stay safe, guys.